Hi Andrew, lovely to meet up with you and do some further work on your game. This particular session is very important to you as it relates to the separation of the upper and the lower COG, centre of gravity, during the golf swing. What we tend to see with yourself, just a little bit of something here at setup that's starting to creep in over the past certainly in the last session, and that is that both your upper centre gets just a little bit out in front of your lower centre. Now, in the grand scheme of things, we're going to try and get the weight around about, with yourself, I'd like to have the weight around about 65% forward at P1. Now, looking at it there, it's sort of more, the mass is sort of 80% forward, isn't it? Maybe 75. So what I'd like to see you do is just get a little bit more centred at setup. So feel like the centre of the shoulders is in line with the centre of the stance. And then move the lower body forward by moving the hip girdle forward. So just feel, once this upper centre is in line with the centre of your stance, just feel like the hip girdle pushes forward this way. And what that would allow, it would allow for a little bit of axis tilt at P1 away from the target, like so, which is completely acceptable. Within the pattern, we'd like to see the upper centre and lower centre above one another on the shorter clubs, and as the clubs progress and get a little bit longer, we'd like to see the lower centre just push forward that little bit, and it makes for less of a task getting the hips forward during the downswing. Having said that, top of the backswing, again, working on the takeaway, trying to make sure that the wrists cock and that the hands work in, the face doesn't rotate open too much. You're getting really good at demonstrating that now. It's starting to work its way into your normal swing. So it is getting in there gradually, and the more you do that rehearsal, the more it's going to go in there. You can see here now that the upper centre being so far forward just means that there's ever such a slight move off it in the real world, not necessarily in the post swings, but in the real world when we swing at speed. And the reason for that is we're trying to get that upper centre back in line with the middle of the stance. So that will be one critical aspect that you might want to consider in regards to your setup. Don't let the upper centre get too far forward. It will help you hit down on it, but if it gets too far forward, it can have a negative effect and cause you to push up out of the ground way too fast rather than completing your hip slide. So something that you need to consider at setup. The move itself, what we're trying to get is, we're trying to get a separation between the upper and the lower centre as you change direction. So what we tend to see at the start is both centres move forward at the very, you see that little move off it there, both centres move forward. And again, going back to our issue we had at setup, not a great deal of axis tilt being created as we approach P6. And you're very aware, you tell with the conversation that we had prior to the start of this, that the hip's not moving forward enough. It's creating this situation where the right shoulder's quite high, the centres are over the top of one another, and the wrists start to get dumped, and the overtaking rate can be a little bit too high. It is a lot lower than it was, by the way. I was looking at some of your original footage the other day, and it is definitely starting to calm down. But the big thing is to learn to separate the two centres. So what we've done here is, I've moved in, I'm just going to keep your head still. This is the best demonstration of the move that we want to make, that you carried out during your session. From that position at the top, the advice that you were given was to push the hips as far forward as you could, as fast as you could. There's the separation of the two centres. You can see that you're maintaining the angle in the right arm a little bit longer. The right shoulder is starting to lower a little bit more, and we're creating a little bit more axis tilt as we come into the golf ball, which is going to help shallow out the angle of attack in the correct way. If you do that a couple more times, you can see the hips being pushed forward as far and as fast as you can, which is creating more of the scenario that we're after. Hips have been pushed forward, right shoulder lower than the left as a result of the sliding of the hips, creating the axis tilt that we're looking for. whilst maintaining the angle in this right arm in a little bit more appropriate manner. We do want the right arm to expand, but we want to do it incrementally throughout the time and space of the downswing, rather than progressively straight from the top, right arm pulled out, just to widen the radius and to reach the golf ball. So keep moving the hips forward as much as you can, as fast as you can, from P4 to P6. We're meeting up again in the new year. You've got a little bit of a break between now and then. You know, we did talk about how to practice this, and the hip against the wall without a golf ball in play is a really important drill for you. When you did that, you got better at doing it throughout the time of your lesson. And when you did it, it was looking very similar to what you see there when I'm holding your head. Remember, what we're looking for ultimately is a stable axis, upper axis, with a lower axis that's moving, or a lower hub that's moving progressively forward during the downswing. Have a great Christmas, good luck with it, and I look forward to working with you in 2015.